The angels online. The angels online. The angels online.
Good people. What's going on, y'all? This Angel with the Angels Online, and we are now recording Season 4, Episode 7. We are calling this Voice of Resilience, Survivors of Gun Violence. Also, let me let you know, Navigating the Storm, Mental Health Tips for All is now out there on the market. Okay. Listen, my first book for the people, which coincides with everything that I do right here at the Angels Online, because we are here to give information, give these kids information, prepare them for the future. Now, I'm going to start with the individuals that I have online right now. What is your name and where are you calling from? We're going to talk to Shakira first.
Hi, everybody. I'm Shakira, also known as Moochie. I'm calling in from California.
What part of California?
I am in Northern California. I live in Lathrop, California.
Okay, I don't know where that is. And so it rains out there because it never rains in Southern California. Shoot,
does. It rains. It rains.
We need the rain.
You said y'all need the rain, huh?
We need the rain.
All right, who else we got? What's that young lady on the line? Talk to me.
Hi, this is Precious Jones. I'm actually calling on the road, calling in from off the road, but from St. Louis.
Wonderful, from St. Louis. Perfect. To my right, talk to me.
Hey, y'all. It's Ashley Pogue. I'm from St. Louis, but I flew in from Cali.
Okay, she live in Cali, too. She in Southern California.
Yeah.
Southern California. And to my left, who I got?
Sable Owens. I stay right here in St. Louis.
Sable Owens. I stay right here in St. Louis. Okay. And good people, is Angel, founder of the Angels Online LLC, voice of the unheard, and we are here to give these good people a voice. Thank you guys for being on this episode to help with this topic, enlighten the people, give your input, and of course you have a voice. This is a no judgment zone. Of course, we talk, we listen, and what that's that thing they say, girl?
We don't judge. Period.
Yes, and that's what it's about. We have open dialogue here, guys. There are no youth on this episode, which is a fortunate case for us. This is one I did not want youth on. My job is to educate them and give them information so they're not in a situation where they become a survivor. But of course, they do have family members and they see it and they go through it. And of course, this topic was brought to you by a young person who came to me and informed me at the age of 8 years old. So again, it starts young. First thing I'm going to ask is, Ashley, what is your personal experience or connection with gun violence?
Well, my personal experience with gun violence is back in 2021, I was shot.
Okay.
I was shot at Press Box. Yeah. And then I also have like two brothers that I've lost from gun violence. They was also shot here in St. Louis. So, yeah.
Okay. And you, what year was that? That you were shot?
I was 2021.
2021. Okay. 2021. Sable on my left, talk to me. Your personal experience or connection with gun violence.
My experience would have been with my brother back in September 2021. He was shot from gun violence, and then my nephew. My brother he passed away. My nephew, he was also shot, and then some more people who we was down there with, they were also shot during that event.
So they were just victims of an open shooting.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's all that we were just innocent bystanders to it. It wasn't nothing towards us or anything. We was basically at the wrong place at the wrong time.
Thank you. And your nephew survived.
Yes.
Thank you. Precious, talk to me.
Yes. So in 2019, my children's stepfather was shot and killed. In 2019, my oldest brother was shot over 27 times and became a paraplegic. And in 2022, my nephew was shot and killed in April. And then my 20-year-old son was shot and killed in June.
Whew. And you also have
And,
a
and
nonprofit.
actually,
Oh, go ahead. Talk
yeah,
to me.
and actually, my son is Ashley's brother. So my son big brother was also shot and killed. So a lot. And I started a non-for-profit after the loss of my son called Breaking Generational Poverty Foundation. So we are against gun violence in the community, just basically trying to expand the quality of life for our youth. So everything that I did not have to support my son, I'm making sure that I bring it to the community. I always say my son was a product of a broken community, because when I reached out for mentorship and help, I didn't get this. So I'm creating that now. So I know it's going to take a minute, but I jumped off and just boots on the ground and been doing things in the community since.
I love it. That's what the Angels Online about. Give these kids what we didn't have. Give the kids an opportunity to be successful, to be the best that they can be out here. And then we have Moochie. Moochie, your personal experience or connection with gun violence, dear.
Yes. Okay, so we can start with 2015. So 2015, I lost my youngest brother at the age of 17 to gun violence. He was actually killed by my other brother, who has mental health issues. So now that I'm a therapist, I changed my profession from a correctional officer to a probation officer to a therapist, and just working with the people that I do now, the population that I do, I think is very important to check with mental health and just really get to these kids and talk to these kids, because you never know what they're enduring. So that's really what I strive for right now. We're working with the kids that I work with now. And also the year after that, 2016, I was shot myself. Also an active gun violence, innocent bystander. Although I was with somebody who it was actually meant for, I was the innocent one in the situation. And not only was I was shot 10 times. And to be able to have this voice and still be alive and still be able to tell my story is a blessing. So,
Come on.
yeah, it is. So, thank you.
Yes. Y'all talking about stuff that I'm gonna be talking about already when I'm asking these questions. So I'm like, let me see where I start. I'm gonna just go and set it off. I'm gonna start with Precious, because you mentioned community and everything. How does gun violence affect communities beyond just the immediate victims? I like to say victims or survivors, because you guys are survivors. How does it affect communities beyond, just listening to what you were saying with your nonprofit? You have an opinion on that?
Yes, it's like a ripple effect. It just goes, it affects the families, the communities. When one case occur, you have people that want to, retaliation. And so you just have to try to get in the middle of it and just say enough is enough, because so many people feel like, well, they took my family member, I'm going to take somebody from them, but it's a never ending cycle. So if it keep going, it'll just keep going. So when I feel like being a positive piece and people seeing, because my son was real popular, so people seeing me pushing for peace, it shows something different, and it gives a different precedence, because this is hard when it's my condolences go out to everybody and anybody who's been a victim. But when you lose your child and at a young age, and they were taken away, and my son was murdered in his sleep, that's hard. So in order for me to keep a level head, I have to promote peace. I have to get in the community. I have to show something bigger, because it's just really hard. So I think, promoting peace and being out in the community and doing, playing your role, that plays a huge part, because if not, it'll just be a never ending war. Like, if people don't do something positive, then I think that it'll just, go all the way left.
Does anybody want to go next or piggyback off that? and when it says how does it affect communities beyond just immediate victims, because you just mentioned these victims have families and this goes with another question, so I'm gonna tie it together because the other one was, can you explain the impact of gun violence on children and adolescents? So these victims have friends. They have a community that they've been dealing with for a long time, that they've been involved with. And then when the people know the community knows the individual, they're like, oh my God, now it's like, that can happen to me. That could have happened, Ashley, when she called and told me, I was like, wait a minute, what? Ashley, that's huge. As far as the community goes, her son's an up-and-coming actor. You're doing that, and she's managing her son. All of a sudden, she come to St. Louis for a quick event, and now you gone. And so now everything just gets discombobulated, thrown off. Right. Sable, you lost Cedric, and Cedric was a huge impact on the community. Worked for UPS. The people he delivered to, the corporations he delivered to, everyone was at his funeral arrangements and everything because high school coaches, just everybody was there. And so it has an impact on the community, and especially the closest people that might be to him, even outside of his family, his friends who might need help, therapists and everything, because it's like, man, we were just talking to Cedric. What happened? And so I think it has a huge effect on communities because if you're a part of your community, and even if you're an advocate for your community, that could be me. And, I have a lot of kids that are watching me. I have a lot of kids that are like, wait a minute, where's Miss Ramsey? All these things. So I think it has a huge effect on communities, and it puts a fear in some people in the community because they realize, man, this can happen anywhere because we see a lot of gun violence going on right now.
Exactly.
As it is. Anybody else want to piggyback or add?
Well, no, I would just agree, that is so true because, even going back, I didn't mention my cousin. Her name is Jasmine. Mm-hmm. She was killed when we were in high school, so we were seniors. She attended Vashon. Mm-hmm. So she didn't even make it to graduation. But just going, as a high school, as a teenager, and that happening to her, myself, I was scared to go back in these same communities because the community that this happened in, I would ride past this community every day. So it was literally times where we would be driving because she was in a car when she was killed. Mm-hmm. And we would be driving and I literally would going past that street, I would literally duck down because I was just so afraid, you know what I'm saying? And then going back to the schools, you have all these other kids that are affected, and we not even getting the proper, care or healing
counseling,
or counseling and
yes.
all of those things, So, yeah.
Especially back then, mm-hmm. I lost someone right in front of my face in a fire in the car, in high school, Sable knows about it. But we were actually right there and watched her, pass away. And it's all we had was our, school counselor. Mm-hmm. There was no therapy, no nothing. I cried. I wasn't able to talk about it for 4 years. Because you just get reminded, that, and I was homecoming queen that night, mm-hmm. I don't care. I don't remember, what I'm saying? I remember Alex now, in a positive light because, we were celebrating with me, you know what I mean? But back then, I threw the crown in the trash. I think I lost it, whatever. Didn't even, it was just, it is what it is. This happened. And, there was no I didn't know nothing about no therapy, no therapist, none of that. Exactly. And the counsel that we had is still a part of our life to this day. That's something that's huge and impactful. So were you going to add to the community?
Yes, I am. With the kids and with mm-hmm. the gun violence and everything,
yes.
It does affect them a lot because, even now, I'm still not comfortable saying, my brother got shot or my brother got killed and everything. I just be when the situation happened, I just never fully come out to say it like that. And then, with my daughter, she was down there when everything happened. So it's if we are with the crowd, she grabs my hand and stuff like that. Or she be like, Mom, I just don't want to go down there. I'm like, why you don't want to go? Because I just don't know what's going to happen. Or she'll just still always talk about, Mama, why did this have to happen to Cedric? Why Cedric got to be the one to get killed? Because I really do miss my uncle. I want him to come back. And it's when people are making life decisions so fast, you're not thinking about who all is impacting and stuff. And it's not just you getting your retaliation back. You're affecting mm-hmm. the whole community mm-hmm. and changing everybody's lives. Mm-hmm. Nobody's life is going to be the same when you do that.
Yes.
It's she's 9 now, and now she can say, Mama, I know Cedric is watching novellas, because even we get my niece, and she always talks about her dad and everything else. It's just a big old cycle that it's like, it just has a huge consequences on everybody.
Well said. Well put. And that reminds me of, this episode. An 8-year-old little boy sat on my lap at a elementary school, and he was just like, Miss Ramsey, my cousin was killed, and I was playing a game, and I'm like, what the world? And the other little girl was like, my daddy got 25 years, and she started crying and was like, because they watched the fatherless child episode and then the bullying episode, that I had in season 2. And you look at it and it's just like, people don't realize, even the ones that are out here committing the gun violence, who just don't care. She mentioned retaliation, who just out here toting guns, they think it's cool, they think it's cute, and not realizing. But then when that happens to them, it's like their family, they lack accountability. And I see it too much. We see it all the time, a lack of accountability, where we know Peter and Paul and Ron and John and Sarah was out here toting pistols, shooting, talking about what they were going to do, putting it on their videos and everything else. And they're uneducated about the gun, because they're exposing themselves, and a lot of people say, oh, I just saw him on live with that same gun. Now you just got arrested with that same gun. So what's your defense mechanism? So now it's like free tom-tom. But was y'all telling him to not do that? Were y'all telling him, because kids are impacted. At 12 years old, they're losing their dads to gun violence. I had a young man on the Grief episode, lost his dad at 12. He was murdered, and his dad was the one taking care of him with the grandma was the one taking care of him. But when you look at it, you like, people don't realize this hurting kids. And then when they have kids, and then now you leaving behind kids.
Exactly.
So now the cycle continues. You have a fatherless child. You have, whether he in jail or whether he's deceased or whatever, and then guess what? Retaliation, like you just mentioned, and then you have innocent bystanders. Cedric was killed, one shot to the neck took him out. Nephew got shot in the leg, and survived, but was hurt very badly, and he was killed in front of all his nieces and nephews. Everybody was that, and all these people that did support, right by police headquarters, a block away. So when you look at it, it's like, all these people are affected. And if she didn't have a mom, family members that, she can talk to and actually say those things that, like Sable clearly says she talks to her. And at 9 years old, she just also let us know reason why the Angels Online exists and why my book is for ages 8 and up. If they 7, if they learn it, if they got parents like you or you, they learn at 7. It's why it's 8 and up. She can simply say, I know he's looking over us. She's trying to be positive about it.
Exactly.
She's not telling her, don't remember, don't think about that. She's not doing that. She's embracing the moments that her daughter is having because she get that same respect. She's had trauma too. And I think that's crucial. Anybody else want to add to the impact on children, adolescents, and the effect of community? Anybody else?
Yeah, I wanted to
talk to me, Mochi.
Talk
to
me. Go
so,
I did want to piggyback that. When she said like what happened to her cousin, like driving past, the impact that it had on her. Like I feel like I was exactly the same way. Just being shot and not even want to go back to where it happened, be around those same people. It changes your outlook on literally everything.
Yep.
I used to be that person that, wanted to hang out all the time, wanted to, hang with my friends, wanted to have a good time. But, after that happened, it was like a shift in me. Not saying that it's a bad thing or a good thing, but it just changed my outlook on being watchful of my surroundings, who I give rides to, a lot. So, I don't give people rides. And, people ask me a lot, like, well, why don't you do that? And I'm like, it's personal because, when people get into your car, you never know what the next person has going on.
That's so true.
And that really hit me because, I could be giving somebody a ride one day, just like it happened. And then your car is just being shot up. And even though it's meant for them, it happens to you. I was depressed for a really long time. And, going to talk about therapy, like you said, you never knew about therapy or counseling or different things like that. And, in the Black community, it's really frowned upon or not talked about to go to therapy or things like that. So, becoming a therapist now, it really made me look like we really need therapy in our community. Like, we really need to sit and talk because not a lot of us, even kids, have that outlet to talk to.
Yep.
And that's why I love what I do. Like, I work with kids now between the ages of babies all the way up to 18, and I love it. Like, I never thought that I would be the one to work with kids. Like, if you know me, then you know. Like, kids just, like, I never thought I'd be working with kids. But, I really love it, and I feel like I'm really making an impact. Even though I'm not where I grew up at or, around the people that I grew up with, I feel like I'm making an impact where I am now. And even though I'm not in my community trying to change things, I'm more than willing to give back. But, I felt like me getting away was something beneficial to me because sometimes just being in that environment prevents you from growing where you need to grow. So I felt like just me personally, I had to get away.
Yeah.
Girl,
I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Come on. I was just talking to my cousin Porky yesterday about how you're not getting in my car. But I'm come from the criminal justice system, right? So I've dealt with young people up to adults, probation, parole, institutionalized individuals, and ranging from all the crimes that you can think of, sex crimes, murder, assault, everything else. So I know better. I'm trained to think like that. My mind thinks like that. And so I shifted because I want to help young people before they reach that point. You get tired of handcuffing people, especially like little boys, 18-year-olds. I'm putting my hand on 18-year-olds. You know what I mean? And it's like, are y'all serious? And some of them, they act like you owe them something. Mm-hmm. And it's like, you would never know me if you weren't in here. You would never know me if you didn't have to come see me. And I just said, you can't give a ride. Safety is sexy. My line, safety is sexy. And you can call me whatever you want. She's Stangy. you're not getting in my car.
Period.
Because no one's going to expose their weaknesses or what they've been doing wrong. Nobody wants to do that because they lack accountability. And they're not going to tell you because they really want that ride. So it's also a sense of selfishness,
Mm-hmm.
Man. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. So we're gonna go to the next question because we were all just talking about it. Mental health. Moochie just told us how it affected her mental health. Can you elaborate a little bit, Moochie, how it affected your mental health, and then we'll go to Precious.
Yeah, so after my brother passed away in 2015, I feel like it hit me a lot being the oldest of 5. Mm-hmm. I always was there taking care of my siblings, helping my mother. So when my brother was killed, my mother not only lost one son, she lost 2. Mm-hmm. I've never seen my mother so depressed in my life. I've never even seen my mother cry. So when that happened, I had to be the one to put the funeral arrangements together, do this, do that, and that was a lot on me. And I didn't realize that until afterwards. I was in a really angry place by that happening because I'm like, why did this happen? What were the signs? Should we have seen these signs of, his mental health deteriorating? And it really was just impactful me. I was trying to fight everybody. People had so many things to say about my mother, like, oh my God, like, how could she, raise these kids like this or, different things like this. But, people are always on the outside looking in. And, it's like, no matter how great you raised your kids,
come on,
or
say it,
they're going to do what they want to do regardless, and my mother raised us great, but like I said, no matter how you raise anybody, they're going to do what they want to do regardless because everybody has their own mind to do it. So that was one thing. I was just an angry person, always wanted to fight. And I really had to get myself in check. But then the year after when I got shot, I was in a really depressive state. Like, I didn't want to get out of bed. I didn't want to work. I didn't want to do anything because I'm like, not only was I depressed, I was scared.
You were living in fear. You in fear. You didn't even want to stay at your own house.
I didn't. I did not want to stay at my own house at all. I was staying with my grandmother and my mom. And I think I sat in the bed for probably a good year. And I was like, yeah, I need to get myself together. And although I didn't seek therapy or anything like that, I went to the gym. I, read books. I
Alternative
went,
methods.
yeah, exactly. And different things. I even started talking to my friends again more because when I was going through that depression, I did not even talk to my friends as much as I did before I got shot. So, just having those people in your corner, that support system, like I never knew how much support I had until I got shot. And I was like, oh my God, all these people really love me. They support me. They hear from me. Angel, you was even one of them. You was there in the hospital every day. Like, I was like, this girl needs to go home. Like, she's always here.
Girl,
So,
listen, baby, look here. Moji,
yeah.
what? I was
Like,
scared.
no, it
10
was a
times is a
lot.
lot of time.
That is.
So yeah, I'm like, I really have good people in my corner. And, I really didn't realize that because, when stuff happens to you like that, you're really depressed and you're not thinking about that. So, I really had to, like I said, take a shift and change my life around. And honestly, I feel like I'm the best that I've ever been,
Come on.
making these changes because honestly, I feel like I'm an old lady now. I
Baby,
just
look here.
literally
My wife
go to
talk about me
work.
every day.
Exactly. Go to work, go home. I go out every now and then, but mostly I just like to travel. I like to do things. I go to the movies, self-care things that
Yes,
I like
yes.
to do.
Yes.
And I think that it's very important to utilize self-care now. And I didn't think about that back then until now. And yes, self-care is so important. And I really want everybody to utilize self-care because not a lot of us do. We do so much stuff for other people that we neglect ourselves. And
Baby,
I
listen
really
here.
believe it.
You
Self-care.
you talking to so you better make sure you get navigating the storm mental health tips
Oh
for all.
yes, I already got your link. I got you.
You better get that book, baby. Journal your journey, okay?
Okay.
Listen. Precious, talk to me, baby.
Hi. So for me, my mental health when my son was first taken away, I was already grieving, so I was already in a grieving state. But when my son was taken away, it was really hard for me. The first 4 months, it's still hard, but the first 4 months, I literally just like stayed in bed. I just couldn't do anything because I had a lot of resentment, a lot of guilt. I felt like it was my fault. I felt like he deserved to live, and I wanted to trade places with him. I was just angry because I was the one that sent my son back to St. Louis for a court date. So just it's very bothering. Like, and it still bothered me to know that I made him come back and he didn't make it back home. And so, I don't know, my emotions was just everywhere. The only thing that really kept me going was my other sons and his kids. But trying to be strong for my other sons, it was really hard too. So it was a lot. And counseling just didn't work for us. Like, we tried, we just didn't find a counselor that was, understood where we was coming from. And it just didn't work for us. And it was like, I'm so used to, being around and everybody like, oh, you have to go get counseling. You have to go get counseling. So that was stressing me out because I'm like, well, this is the proper way, how people say you're supposed to grieve and you're supposed to heal.
Ain't no proper
But I couldn't
ways.
find that. Yeah, and now I know that, but it's like at first you listen to what everybody's saying and, all the professionals or even people at your job, they like, make sure you go get counseling, and you thinking, okay, so this is the first step. And it was like, we couldn't find a counselor. I couldn't find a counselor that I can actually, that understood
That relate
us.
that you felt could relate to you.
Yes. So, or my son. So it was like, okay, what we gonna do now? Because now I'm right back feeling guilty again because I feel like I'm not getting the proper help for my boys. So, it was everywhere. So I just literally had to start praying on it. And it's like, I asked God, like, what to do next? Like, what do you want me to do? And that's when, he told me clearly, do the foundation. But my boys, we all still struggle, but my boys are, finding their way. And it's like, instead of talking at them and telling them what they need to do, I'm just really supportive of them and, like how they choose to handle it, but I'm right there with them. But I try not to force them, because at first I was like, yeah, I gotta go to counseling, like that's the only way. And they was like, Mama, you don't understand, like we don't want to do counseling, like we don't want to sit up and tell a person all of our business that can't even relate to us. And it's like, no, that's the right way, that's what we got to do. So now it's like I'm trying to be a more supportive mom, like however, whatever you feel like is going to help you, I just want to be there to support it, because this new for all of us. We've never, I never lost a child, so this is new for all of us. And it's like, I don't want to, I don't know. It's just all over the place for us, for as mental, like the mental health part. And even with doing so much community work, at the end of the day, I still get in my car and cry leaving. I still go home some nights and cannot sleep. Like sleep for us, none of us really have had a good night's sleep since my son, because he was, taken away in his sleep. So sleep for us is scary, especially like, I would say it was months before I was able to be in a house by myself at night. And I didn't even know that I was afraid to, be in a house by myself and go to sleep. I had to come out in my car and fall asleep in my car because I was so terrified of being in the house. I'm like, what if somebody, come to the window and, shoot me or something like that, like they did my son. And I never knew that was even a fear until I was, at the house by myself and realized that, like, oh my God. And so it's just, it's a lot. So the mental health piece is still kicking our butt every day, but we like literally just trying to hold on by prayers.
That's a traumatic experience, and you just said something that Ashley mentioned earlier. Your son said, we don't want to tell everybody our business. And, but you said you guys are new to this, so they don't know about it. They don't really understand it. And that's a thought process for a lot of people in our community. We don't want to tell people our business. Well, these people are trained to know and understand it. And the first 2-3 therapists might not be the ones for you. You know what I mean? Remember, they human. These are humans. You know what I mean? There might be somebody, they might need a black female. They might need a black male. You know what I mean? They might need somebody in their community that they feel like they can relate to more because they're new to this and they feel like the next person won't understand. Because there's a lot of education and knowledge behind, therapy, a lot of information, psychological information that they don't know about and never even looked at and never expected until this happened. And so many times in the community, even my mom to this day, she swears she don't need therapy. And, with my experience and my profession and, I'm like, Lord, you need help. Oh, my goodness. Okay, no problem. But it's certain conversations we can't have because I'm speaking on a different level. Just understanding perspective, viewing things in a different light, not thinking everybody's after you, just looking at things in multiple ways that maybe that's not what they think. Maybe that's not what they're saying. Did you ever think that it was going to be, nah, I'm just sticking with this. Okay, well, then you leave out options of way things can be better and how it can be better. You know what I mean? So,
and then when you had, sorry to cut you off, but when you had so many losses, it's hard to trust people. Like, you don't know who you can trust. You don't know who can to who. You don't know who, like my sons, they share, my location. They like, Mama, where you pulling up to? Like, you just can't be pulling up to anywhere. And, you have to be careful. And a lot of times I feel like that too, but it's like, I'm tired of living like that, but I know I need to, make sure that I pay attention. And so it's like, I think a therapist for them, because they don't stay in St. Louis, but a therapist for them, I think, will be better, in the state that we stay in, but we just haven't found that because we don't know, where like the more urban people are, they've been around, like
you gotta find them, man. It's hard.
Says she's the therapist and just listen to her speak. She would be a perfect person for us to go to because she can relate to us, but we haven't found that in our state. It's just regular, old fashioned. And it's like, okay. So, but it's, it plays a part in the trust. And then I forgot to mention, not only did my brother get shot in 2019, he actually passed in 2021 from a fentanyl overdose. And my oldest son found him overnight sleep.
That's traumatic all day. Yeah. So it's nobody knows who to look at this point. Losing a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's like a whole lot for us, but we really need to find us a therapist, like on the alone, like how Moochie is, because again, she can relate. Is so that's what we need when we find us a therapist or counselor. So I'm hoping that we can,
Yep.
find
And
somebody
Precious,
in
I
the
could also
industry.
send you some links. Sorry to butt in. But yeah, I could send you some links for some therapists because, yes, it took me a long time to find a therapist also. But my therapist is online. So that helps a lot too because you don't even have to leave your home and the therapist is just right there,
It's called
and I
telehealth.
meet twice a month, and it's just very convenient to find that one for you. And like you said, a lot of therapists are traditional therapists and that can't relate to what you're going through. But yes, I'm going to send you a website that has a list of therapists, and maybe they could look through those and figure out what therapist is right for them because it does take time.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Amen. Put in that group message.
And
Talk to me. Say, come on.
what I was going to say is that, well, technically, I still am dealing with my mental health because I won't step foot downtown. Like, if somebody be like, well, how you going to get there? I'll go all the way to Egypt before I go through downtown to even, because it's just, I don't know. I could just be sitting down, reading the book, listening to a movie, anything. It's like to this day, we all gonna sit down, we gonna watch Wakanda because that's what my brother liked and stuff. But with the mental health, it took me a while to get into a therapist. Like, first, I was missing work a lot, but I actually went through my job to do the free counseling and stuff. At that time, they would not. I had to do family therapy because my daughter was too young for her to actually sit in the room by herself and actually talk about her experience. So, and I knew she wasn't benefiting from that because it was like, well, I just want to sit up on a tablet or we going to talk about something else. But at her age, mentally, she was like, I don't want to talk about it because that's going to make everybody else sad and I don't want to see everybody cry and stuff. Now she is in with a therapist and I actually use her therapy session. Like both of us talk to the therapist. So it's like a 2-for-1 basically because she's really there for her, but she's also talking to me on things on what I should do for myself. Like, right now, I am more so for self-care. But before, I wasn't like that at all. But now I know I need... But now I know I do need to take care of myself. But like with us, it was always like, no, I want to make sure that everybody else is doing good. Like with my parents and stuff, it kind of trickled on down with the therapy effect. Because first it started with my sister, and then I went to therapy, and then my dad went to therapy, and then it was like my other sister, my nieces, my nephews. So it kind of was like, well, if y'all gonna go to therapy, then we gonna give it a try too, even though they do, like within our community, it's like Black people don't go to therapy. And it's like, no, like y'all really should try it out. They're not there to just tell you what you want to hear. They're actually giving you some good ideas on how you can help better yourself. Like, one thing I tell everybody for who have lost a loved one, the therapist told me, she was like, well, if you don't feel like talking to nobody or you feel like that they don't hear you or you just miss that person, she was like, just go out, buy a journal and just have every day, just write a letter to that person. So then it's like you're getting your thoughts out, but at least it's like you're getting your frustrations out and you're not holding all of that in because it is going to be something bad that can come back from it, or you just having all that built up frustration because it's like, who can you talk to when you can? It's just in a letter form, and in that journal, it's just your own personal thoughts. I do feel like therapy has helped us out a lot, and it is getting us moved to the right direction. It's going slower than what I thought, but I knew that with my mental state, I know what it takes for me to get to where I need to be, but I'm like, first I need to make sure my child is good before I can actually get there. But now it's kind of like, let me handle my own mental health before I can really tackle into hers.
Wonderful, wonderful. Ashley, come on, talk to me about your mental health. Like, because you got 16 kids, you got 25 jobs.
Man, I feel like for the most part, my mental health is pretty good, but it's just really so many layers, though. Mm-hmm. Even going back, like, I know I mentioned, like, a couple incidents of gun violence, but just sitting here thinking and listening to everybody, it really started kind of really young for me. I would say about like 10 years old. My uncle was shot in our neighborhood or whatever. And at that point, I remember I was just really so scared to like go by him. Like he was in the house, like I would be scared to go in the house. Like, you know, I was scared to be around anybody who had been shot at that point or whatever. And they kind of like, so I've always been kind of like a scary kid growing up, I guess, you know what I'm saying? Because
traumatic experiences.
Traumatic, right? So even going back to my cousin Jasmine, like it was times like literally I'm in high school, I'm a senior. I would have my little brother, Avion. He would literally come in my room and he would sleep on the floor, like this a hardwood floor or whatever. And he would come up and he was sleeping because I was so scared to be in my room alone, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So, and then, like, with me, personally, myself, like, when I was shot, my biggest concern then was just my mom. Like, even there, right? In that moment, yeah, we were celebrating her 50th birthday. Right. You know, I'm standing outside a press box or whatever, and I knew, like, when I think about it, it was like I was supposed to be outside, you know, because I feel like if I was inside, I would have never heard those shots go off. But I was more aware because I was standing outside. And when I see the kids outside with the guns or whatever, and my cousin kind of pushed me in, I'm alert, you know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to run. Then I felt, I got hit. I felt it or what? I just felt something hot. So I'm like, oh my God, did I really just get shot? You know what I'm saying? And that was like the scariest 5 minutes of my life because it was just rounds and rounds. And it sounded like they was literally about to walk into the building or whatever. So in that moment, like once I, you know, alert them that I had been shot or whatever, the only thing, I was really calm. Like, but everybody else was just like going crazy, ballistic. But I was trying to stay calm for my mom because I knew, you know what I'm saying, you know, years back, like my brother got shot or whatever and he was killed. Yeah. And that's all I could think about, like, you know what I'm saying, for her. And it's the same month that he was shot in. Probably like, you know, like her birthday, the 29th, he was killed on like the 23rd.
What month is it?
April, okay. So this is her birthday celebration. So it's like, oh my God, like it's already fresh for her because it's that month. Now her daughter just got shot. So I was just like really trying to be like really calm or whatever. And which I was or whatever, but that was kind of like the only thing that's going through my mind, her. Like, you know, or whatever, what she's thinking at this point or whatever. But just like so I actually did go to see a therapist or whatever. And another fear that I had, like in that moment, what really prompted me to go ahead and go to Cali was because of that incident. I was just like really afraid because like who he was shot by, it was somebody he knew. Okay. So I was like riding down the street, I would be so nervous. I would always be scared of like, what if I pull up, you know, to this person at this light? You know what I'm saying? Like what would that be like? That was something that kind of repeatedly played in my head. So I did go talk to a therapist and he kind of like, you know, well, if this is how you feeling, then you might do, you know, better. Need to change the scenery. And maybe you should go ahead and go or whatever. So that really prompted me to go or whatever to California, which, yeah. So.
Turned out to be good.
Turned out to be good, for sure. But then like I said, it's in a good state. But and then so now when it happens to me or whatever, it's like we have all these school shootings going on, right?
And you get nervous.
So it's just like, oh my God, like crazy. So now I'm like everywhere whenever I go into any type of building or establishment, my first thought is if somebody come in here shooting, how I'm gonna get out of here. What's the exit?
Every school, every place I walk into, I'm like,
and that's
plans.
Like, and that should not be, you know what I'm saying, so common in a thing. Like, you know what I'm saying? But, you know what I'm saying? But it's like literally, that's my first thought. And when it was really fresh, it was like I was nervous, like, as hell, you know what I'm saying? But I do have a background in psychology or whatever.
Come on, or whatever.
I mean, I don't use it. But I do feel like that also has helped me because I haven't been to a therapist, but I do feel like I do need to go. But I feel like the things that I have learned and I kind of like almost like do sessions with myself, like in a sense, you know what I'm saying? And then like the self-care piece, like I feel like after that happened to me and then it just made me realize how important it was, because before that I never, like, you know, it's just always about my kids, like, you know what I'm saying, or whatever. But now, and even going to Cape Town, that really helped me tap into that a little more. And I understood how important it was, because when I was shot, it wasn't like, God, why me? It was like, what are you trying to tell me?
Right.
What are you trying to tell me? Like, what do you want me to do? Like, what should I be doing? What is my purpose? It really kind of put like some, like, you know what I'm saying, stop procrastinating. You don't got all the time you think you got or whatever. So, but yeah, like, very traumatizing. Like, yeah.
Woo! So how can we encourage responsible gun ownership and promote safe practices among gun owners? Because a lot of times you see little kids getting a hold of a weapon, like 5 years old, getting a hold of a gun. I mean, gun ownership, when they keep changing the laws, you know, anybody can get the pistol. But even when you look at, like, the news and you see that the police have raided somewhere and they done took about, they got money, they got ARs, they got the big gun. I'm like, where they getting that from? You know, but there's always a black web, a black market or something like that. I mean, but I think a way that we can encourage it, I mean, it's just by Precious, like what Precious is doing, you know, or even just the Angels Online, what I'm doing with these episodes, having these conversations, showing the impact that it can have and the ultimate feeling behind survivors and individuals who, like, for me, just like when we talked about community, you know, knowing people, you know, I know you, I know Ashley, I know Moochie, you know, I know people that got shot, you know, growing up in the Blue Myers when I was little, you know, I heard them all the time. City of St. Louis, you know what I mean? And it's unfortunate, but Precious, what would you say? What would you, how can we encourage responsible gun ownership or promote safe practices?
I think for responsible gun ownership, it's good to talk to your legislators. If you have relationships with your legislators, talk to them, not just talking to them in, you know, the areas, but actually going up there to testify against bills. I'm at the Capitol, the capital of Missouri all the time. When I study the bills that's coming out, I even have written bills, you know, to be put on the floors. I build relationships with a lot of the legislators. They calling me and letting me know. I'm rallying up parents and people from the community, like, let's go to Jeff City so we can testify. Let's go to Jeff City so they can hear our voice, because you be surprised when you walk in how many of those legislators don't know what's really going on, because some of them in rural areas, they don't understand. And then if nobody's coming to fight against these bills or stand behind these bills, they just pass them with flying colors, because they looking at our community like, don't nobody care from their community, won't know nothing, you know. So you got to educate them as well, because not everybody is from our side. Secondly, I do think that even when bills get passed, it's on the community and like the parents to make sure they're enforcing their part and doing their parts, because no matter what bill is out, if you don't have your kids together, it's still going to be the same thing. No matter what mayor is in office, what governor is in office, what politician is in office, or what bill is passed, if we have a whole community full of, you know, parents and guardians that's not doing what they need to do for their kids or not reaching out to get the help. Like, if you know that your child's holding guns, every parent not a bad parent. We dealing with social media. We dealing with a whole lot. So if you know that you need help with your kid, reach out. We over the days of worrying about DFS coming. They got too many kids where they can even find placing. So right now, people just trying to help each other. So it's okay to speak out. That don't make you a bad parent, because your kid might be hopping in a car with other kids, you know, or other youth that's stealing cars, and this is and the other. What make bad parent is when you don't speak out about it. What make you a bad parent is when you don't reach out for help. We understand things happen. A lot of parents is at work 10 and 12 hours trying to make a living. So sometimes our kids do be at home by themselves, you know, of course, at the appropriate age, but they can get a hold to a lot of things that we wouldn't approve of, and they sneak and do it behind our back. So just like I think it was Moochie that said earlier, you can raise your kid how you want, but your kid still will go out and do things that you disapprove of. And that's okay to know that's a thing and that happens. Just go get the help that's needed, and then start exposing our kids, because they can't be what they can't see. So like for my foundation, I always try to bring in people that's successful, and is doing something. Like, can you come talk to these kids? Because I want them to see it ain't just about basketball, football, rapping, modeling. It's a host of other things. Like, I am, when I say that I am really heavy on pushing youth to get into politics, y'all say these y'all hoods, let it be your hood for real, because get into politics and run. Every family need a lawyer, a politician, a doctor, and so forth in a family. Like, get some real power. And I try to bring people that look like them, that's younger, that's successful. They don't always want to hear, see a successful old white person with a suit, because they looking like that's boring. They want to see a younger person that look like them, that's, dressed to the T.
Doing what they supposed to be doing.
They like, exactly, but on a positive level, so they can say, look, you can wear these Gucci loafers, you can wear these Gucci tennis shoes, you can drive this G-Wagon, and you can go to school to be a lawyer. And they ain't sold not one drug. You don't have to sell drugs to have these. You don't have to, be out doing this and doing it to get that. So we have to show our youth something different. We have to not be afraid to come back and reach out to them. And, it's just like it's so many ways that we can do it, because everybody have to do their part. And as well, like along with the school district, it's just like everybody have to do their part. So I really feel like making sure that we stay very intentional in our communities and being careful what we allow in our communities and what we allow our kids to see. They see enough on social media. Show them something different. Try to turn up these stations in a more productive and positive way, making more positivity go viral, showing them people, black young people successful, or people, black and brown people, successful. Show them something different. Like, I go get YSU students a lot, and I'll have them come to panels, and I'll have some college students on the panel. Then I'll have some youth that carry guns that's bad as hell from, all over on the panel. But I try to get them together so that they can meet new people, get in new circles, be placed. Because a lot of these kids be so smart, and all they need is just the support. All they need is just a push.
Give them a chance. For somebody to say,
I believe in you. You can do this. And you be surprised at what you create. That's and it can happen. It just takes time.
100%. You just preach it to the choir, girl. Anybody else want to add to that? Anybody want to add to that? I mean, she said a lot. You know what I'm saying?
She gave a word.
And she said, they can't be what they can't see.
That was a word.
Listen, and I was going to ask, how do media portrayals of gun violence impact public perception, the media? But she said social media is huge. To these kids, sometimes it's cool to do this and do that or whatever. It's cool to tote this pistol or have this on them because this is what they seeing, and they're not realizing. And to go back again, to piggyback off what you said, you got to have people, and that's one thing that I really agree with. One of the things that we can do is having our communities have an open dialogue like this. You know what I'm saying? If you want to talk about the club and doing all these other things and traveling and everything else, but sit down and have a serious question as well. Sit down and work on activities with your kids, about self-care. You know what I'm saying? Go take those walks, that nature walk, and find 5 things that you ain't think you would see or whatever, and let's talk about it. Having those conversations and opening kids' eyes to more perspective, to more things, some more options that are out here. A lot of times, these young people don't think that they have many options because they're not seeing too many things. So that goes back again, what you said, get in front of these kids. That's why I love going to speak to these kids, because like she said, sometimes they don't want to see older people and they might think it's boring. So like when I did my life skills, your son came to the life skills session. I had him in there. And he's an actor. He's young in high school. And they're like, how do you do your acting and you still go to school? He's like, yeah, I go to school.
Yeah, they were
I get
excited.
My homework. Yeah, kids were excited. They're like, oh my God. That's an actor. Okay, he on this movie and this movie. And shout out to him because his movie come out in April.
Yes.
But Viola Davis and Anthony Anderson. Come on, baby. All right, Chris Ferraro, we see you, baby. Junior. You know what I'm saying? So when you see kids and you bring people in that look like them, a kid that look like them, he's from St. Louis, and he's an actor, he still go to school, and he plays sports.
Yep.
You got to get that in front of them. Then I have entrepreneur out there. Then you got a detective out there. And then you got a DEI director, you know what I'm saying? All these African-American, you know what I'm saying? Then you have the executive vice president of NECA, white man in there, same age as me. You know, and he in there talking to the kids, having a good time, letting them know we got apprenticeship for y'all. You know, let them know that this is out here. They like, what's an apprenticeship? And he broke it down and explained what an apprenticeship is. It's jobs and it's stuff they're looking for these kids. But people have to expose them to these things. When there's career fairs or an expo, you know, I'm getting ready to go to expo at a middle school, you know, just to show kids, okay, yeah, this is what I do, that they want excellence in the community, black to represent or whatever. So I'm going to go do that. But those are the type of things that these kids need to see.
Yeah.
You know, I don't mind giving my time for 3 hours. 3 hours, that 3 hours could save that kid's life and make a huge impact. And see, I'm big on those things. So that's crucial. Anybody want to add to that? Moochie, you all right?
Yeah, I'm good.
Moochie dialed in. She is down. She just listening.
I'm good, but I did want to ask something. Okay,
Talk to me, girl.
Okay, so yeah, just with promoting gun violence, it's crazy because I was literally just having a class, you know, talking about the safety of guns and, you know, how to secure them because, you know, suicide is at a all-time rate, you know, and it's due to guns, you know. So just having that education on the firearms, you know, storing them unloaded, you know, in a lockbox. You know, most people don't know that, especially, you know, from our community, you know, the Black community, we know just, you know, put the gun on the side of the bed or, you know, things like that. But it's like, it's more to it. You know, you actually need to lock these guns up. You know, I know it's not ideal to, if somebody's coming in your house, you know, to hop up, go to a lockbox and do all that. But, you know, when you have kids in the home and like you said, then what the media portrays with guns, you know, that it's okay to have these guns, it's okay to tote these guns around. You know, you never know what the media is putting inside our children's heads. So, you know, just making sure that your gun is locked up and even teaching your children that, you know, guns are not toys and, you know, shouldn't be touched without adult supervision because, you know, the younger I'm seeing over the news, you know, it's younger kids, you know, having access to these guns.
13.
And like you said, yeah, you know, really young people with guns and, you know, they're hurting each other. And sometimes even by accident, you know, that is happening, but they still have access to these guns. So, you know, just using age-appropriate language to explain it and, you know, just letting them know and supervising, you know, and we can't always supervise them, like she said, you know, because parents go to work all day. Sometimes it's single-parent households that can't be with their children all day. So, you know, friends are a big influence. You know, I talk to my sister all the time about, you know, friends, you know, you have to be mindful of who you're hanging around. You know, I've lost a lot of friends, not even to death or anything like that, but it's like with me, I feel like if you're not growing and you're not doing the things you need to do around me to grow, then you don't need to be around me.
Yep.
You know, because you can't take everybody with you down the journey that you're going down. And I had to literally learn that. And it's really hard. So, you know, and exactly getting into these schools and the community and supporting school programs that teach gun safety and violence prevention because, you know, they're going into the schools, they're shooting, you know, and oftentimes it's, you know, it's due to bullying, you know, things like that. So I think just really, like you said, looking into the gun laws and, you know, encouraging safe storage, advocating for gun safety policies in the community. I feel like it prevents accidents and prevents unauthorized access to these guns and making sure that our kids know the education behind it.
That's right.
And to piggyback off of that, like I have my concealed to carry, but the class I went to, they do different like different type of classes. Like some of them is even for women, and then they do have one that's for kids. They make sure that the kids are age appropriate, but they do them so that the kids can know the safety of guns, but also know like there are certain, I guess I could just say certain times on when you can, like if you have to use it, like it should be just for protection, like if somebody's breaking in or stuff like that. But they do break it down for them and teach them to them in a language to where that they are going to learn everything that they need to know about them guns. And they also will give you a free lockbox or just a little lock so that you can lock up your gun and everything. If you don't know all the rules or anything like that, please take advantage of them classes because they are very informative for everything that you do need to know for you and for kids.
I met someone at a school, actually. I think it was at U City High School. They had like a career day or whatever. But he's one that teaches kids. I mean, because if they're going to use them, teach them how to use them properly. You know what I mean? We have company. Get those children. Bring them on in here.
I need to learn. I'm terrified of guns.
Oh, yeah, it's crucial. We have company. Come on in here, Liz. Come on in here.
The one I went to, they did it online because I had got mine through...
Stand right over there, baby.
I had got mine through COVID. So I was able to do it online.
Stand right there. All right. So, last question. What message do you hope listeners take away from your experience? Moochie, what message... Scoot down this way a little bit for me, Alexis. Thank you. What message do you hope listeners take away from your experience?
Wow. Okay. The message that I hope reaches all of the people listening is, first, take care of your mental health. I really, really stress it because, like I said, once upon a time, I was very depressed, suffering from gun violence and, all the trauma that I've endured, with my brother passing away to gun violence. And I think it's very important to, the support system that you have, utilize it and utilize self-care and all the things that you love to do. And it doesn't necessarily mean, having to go out. You could be sitting at home watching a movie or, going to the movies, sleeping, that's my favorite thing to do. So, just different things and just making sure that even though it is hard to find a therapist, there are therapists out there because sometimes you may not want to talk to the people that you know. It's good to get a different perspective from somebody who doesn't know you. So that's another thing that I've learned. And I just really want to say that, I love everyone that's on here and I appreciate, hearing your stories and giving tips to each other and that I'm here for everybody if you want to talk, anything else. And just anybody that's out there listening to really know that we are here to support you for anything. And we hope that you take what we're saying to heart and really listen.
Boom. Precious, talk to me. What you got?
I really wanted to encourage everybody to get involved with ending gun violence and get involved with helping our youth and our community because don't think that it cannot happen to you because gun violence is not prejudice. It doesn't have a certain zip code. It doesn't have a certain look. Gun violence can happen to anyone, so don't let it hit your home before you get involved.
Wonderful, wonderful. That's right. Mental health does not discriminate either. Let's go. What's up? What you got for the people? What you want to leave them with?
So, okay.
Don't read. Talk to her. She was prepared. Come on.
Okay, so the key message I hope listeners take away from this discussion is that it's not just a statistic. It's a real devastating issue that affects families, communities, and futures. Gun violence isn't just about laws or politics. It's about people. Every victim has a story. Every loss leaves an empty space, and every act of violence ripples through generations. I hope people walk away with a sense of urgency and responsibility to advocate for change, to promote education and conflict resolution, and to support those impacted. Whether through policy reform, mental health support, or community engagement, everyone has a role to play in reducing gun violence. The goal is not just to talk about the problem, but to actively work toward a solution that prioritize safety, justice, and healing.
Come on, she was ready. I love it. Sable, come on. What you want to give it? What you want to throw in there? Say what's up.
Oh, y'all pretty much said it.
They said it, girl. That's what I thought.
But what I can say is that before you leaving out, like, this is for people that's using guns and the victims and survivors, like, just know that there are consequences to everything that you're doing. You're not only hurting one person, whoever you was trying to target or anything, you're actually hurting their family, their kids, the community, anybody who could have been interacting with them or anything. And also to please take care of your mental health. That's going to be your number one top priority. You got to take care of yourself before you can take care of anybody else.
Man, good people, good people. And of course, I just leave you with the Angels Online LLC, Angels Online Voice of the Unheard. We are here to motivate, influence, and inspire. So if anybody heard this, and I don't just focus on kids, it's adults as well. But my main thing is so these adults, you can get it to these young people now. We can give them this information. We can communicate these things, listen to the topic that they have to say, voice of the unheard. Because if we can stray them to positivity versus negativity now, let's do it. Let's prepare them for those big rooms, those board rooms. Let them know that they have a seat at the table because they have a seat at the Angels Online. If you ever watched Angels Online, we got kids that have a voice around here. Anybody that's been on this episode, you guys can reach out if you're listening when this episode drops. info@theangelsonline.org if you're looking for someone specific. Moochie, Precious, Ashley, Sable, and of course me. I'm Rhonda Angel Ramsey. Just let us know we are here. Navigating the Storm, Mental Health Tips for All is out right now. Make sure you cop a copy. Journal your journey, self-care information and their tips, testimonies from individuals, activities you can do with your friends, men, women. Mental health does not discriminate. The book is for everybody, okay? Right here in the studio with us, we got Alexis, Sable's daughter that she was talking about. Alexis, come over here and stand next to your mom, right over here. We got Cedric's daughter, Alyssa, over here. Come over here, Alyssa. She looked just like him. Come here, girl. You can come on over here. She looked shaped just like him, like she about to go body slam somebody. She do gymnastics the whole nine. Everybody, both of these ladies do gymnastics. And of course, they're survivors as well, because they lost someone close to them. So they going to get to say good people with the rest of us before we end this episode. And we going to call this episode again, Voices of Resilience, Survivors of Gun Violence. We going to start with Moochie. Moochie, give me a good people, good people.
Good people, good people.
Precious, give me a good people, good people.
Good people, good people.
There it is. Ashley, talk to me.
Good people, good people. If you see something, say something.
Come on. Alyssa, give me a good people, good people.
Good people, good people.
Oh, look at her. Sable, give me a good people, good people.
Good people, good people.
Alexis, give me a good people, good people.
Good people, good people.
You know what to say. Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Season 4, Episode 7, Gun Violence from the Angels Online. And you know what I'm going to leave you with, baby? Good people, good people. You got to get a people what they want. Woo!
Good people, good people.